Welcome to The Quantum Healer. I'm your host, Dr. Tracey Allshafer, and I have the pleasure today of meeting with Dr. Mahan Rishi Singh Khalsa. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tracey. Great to be with you today. A real honor and joy.
The honor and the joy is mine. Thank you so much. I've known you for quite a long time, I think, since my journey into yoga and meditation myself, which you've been doing for far longer than I have. So coming to the person in the area to talk about meditation today and the benefits of meditation and how this ancient practice is still very much significant today and how we can easily incorporate this into our daily life for optimum healing and well-being.
Yes. Well, I think it's essential for this day and age. I think that it's common for people to be extremely busy and to, in many ways, be distracted. We live in a time that there are many things vying for our attention.
Right.
And it's very easy to be pulled in many different directions and oftentimes away from our essential nature, our heart and inner being. And meditation is a method, it's a way for us to really connect with our depth, with our humanity, with our true sense of presence. And meditation for me is essential. I do meditate 365 days a year, at least an hour minimum every day. Whether I've had COVID or surgeries or travel or guests or whatever, I always meditate. I would miss a meal before I would meditate.
Wow.
Yeah, I find it's that essential for my wholeness and for my inner peace, for my well-being. And I've found that as I meditate and do my practice, I'm in a much more open, spacious state, more relaxed, more connected with the earth, with other beings, and with my own inner power, my own innate healing forces. So I find it's really essential.
Yeah, and there's many different styles of meditation. I've found, and I'm sure you have too, that people tend to be a little intimidated by the word meditation, and they think I have to just close my eyes and not think about anything or something like that. And there's these other styles or pathways that lead to the same state of meditation, like you're mentioning with the candle or tratak or japa, these different pathways. So I often find something that has an activity base to it, whether you're watching your breath or, give somebody something to focus on is the best methodology. So can you explain some of those different types of pathways to meditation?
Sure.
A little bit more?
Yeah, there's many ways to meditate. I mean, a lot of the important aspect of meditation, I believe, really is being in the present moment and being conscious and aware. And so however we're cultivating that can be a method. And there are many methods. I think a lot of it is about being lucid, being awake, being fully aware in this, not only in the conscious realm of our body and space, but also in a more transcendent quality that's beyond thought. And as we get into meditation practice, thinking will drop away. It's not like we want to just sit down and say, okay, I'm going to stop thinking. The thinking is really a byproduct. The letting go of thinking is really a byproduct of our meditative attention. So when our meditative attention is on the breath, or it's on the horizon, or it's on sensations, or it's on space, or it's on mantra, or whatever, thinking will naturally begin to drop away. I would say for a lot of people who are beginning a meditation practice, I oftentimes will mention to them, as you begin to sit, begin to adjust your attention from being lost in thought to being aware of thought, but also being aware of sound. So I find as I sit and I move my attention away from being lost in thought to the awareness of hearing, awareness of listening, I will instantaneously begin to move out of my internal dialogue. All this chaotic, discursive commentary that the mind is generating. And then, along with that, of course, I'm connecting with my breath, because the breath is going to settle me into the present moment. I become aware of sensations. I focus. I'm redirecting from a mental, dominant type of awareness, which is not really awareness. I'm moving from that mental state to a sensate state. So I'm moving from a conceptual dimension of my mind to a sensate awareness, a sensation awareness. And so that's in my body, but also aurically, energetically. So I'll focus on sensations. I'll focus on the breath coming through my nose, into my belly, etc. And also I'll guide my attention into the space. So I'm feeling the openness around me. And that's plenty to focus on. I mean, the mind, the intricacy and complexity of and the addictive quality of thinking can easily pull one away. As we practice this more, though, we keep coming back to the present moment, keep coming back to the breath, keep coming back to hearing and listening. And then this whole strata of internal dialogue begins to quiet.
I remember hearing many years ago that quote from the Dalai Lama about if we taught every 8-year-old meditation, we could eradicate violence in the world in a generation, I think he said. And if we got enough people to meditate every day and change the vibrational frequency, elevate their frequency, there's so many benefits personally as well as for the world. So
absolutely.
I mean, it's definitely a practice that has been around for thousands of years for a reason. It's still quite valid today.
Yeah.
And what would you say are some tips for people who want to start a meditation practice and are just maybe intimidated or unsure what to do?
First thing I would say is find a space, designate a space in your home that is for your self-nurturing, for your self-care. We have a place for cooking, we have a place for sleeping, we have a place for computers, we have a place for entertaining, we have a place for this, place for that, whatever. But where's the place that we're going to cultivate inner peace? And so that's what I think is really essential, that there's a place designated in one's home. It doesn't have to be, it could be a whole room if possible, where you can close the door and just have it quiet by yourself. That would be optimum. Or even just a corner of the room where you go there. And for me, my altar space is like a magic realm for me. When I sit there, it's okay. The world phenomenon, I'm letting it go. And I'm going to go into my inner being, restore my humanity, basically, and my inner connection of inner peace. So I think that's an important thing. Is find an environment, create an environment where it's not bombarded with excess activity. Modern society now is just so caught up and consumed by activity and hyperactivity and doing and busying and just constantly, multitasking everything all the time. And when people need space just to be, and that's something that's very different in modern society than we had in indigenous cultures. In indigenous cultures, there was many opportunities for just being because there was a relationship with nature. Being out, gathering, hunting, whatever people were doing, were waiting. Just reading this one thing that some hunters would go out there and be waiting for days, in certain places. For days, they'd just be waiting and still. And so we're missing that. And so I think that's essential.
Absolutely.
People create that space for
themselves. And like you said, it doesn't have to be, if you have a room, great, but it doesn't have to be a room. It can be a corner of a space that you can shut a door and just have a little candle even.
Yes. Yeah. Approach this from a very relaxed space rather than a hard space of necessity. I feel it is a necessity, but It's not like, okay, I have another thing I have to do today. I think people feel overwhelmed.
Right.
And so people feel like, oh, I don't have the time. I have my children, I have work, I have school, I have all these things to do. Well, like has been said, if you don't have time if you can't meditate for half an hour a day, you probably need at least an hour.
I love that. I love that phrase.
Yeah. So,
And I think it's important to find some structure if you can to when you're meditating. It builds up the energy if you try to do it the same time or same time period of the day.
yes.
But people have very ridiculous schedules, as you said, with the busyness today. So at least carving some time out, even if they can't do that. But there is a benefit to the same time of the day. And you mentioned that magical hour in the morning, pre-dawn. And why is that significant?
Well, it's very important, actually. People shouldn't be sleeping through the sunrise. People really aren't sleeping through the sunrise because the solar energies are so activating to the nervous system and glandular system. So even though a person is somewhat asleep, they're not really asleep because everything's being turned on. And so when you're getting up before the sunrise, the angle, the pranic, the energetic angle of the sun is not it's not activating things like it is when it's up higher. So when we're up pre-dawn, things are quieter, we're in a meditative state, we have much greater access to deeper states of consciousness and that state of inner peace. So that's what I recommend. So let's say a person normally gets up at, let's say, 6:30, whatever. I would say get up at like 6 and do your practice first.
Yeah.
Because that creates a tone for the rest of the day. If you just get up, I mean, what do most people do in this modern day? They look at their phones, right? This is what like so many people are doing. The phones are by the bed.
Oh, yeah.
And it's extremely unhealthy. I see all the teenagers, 99% of the teenagers I see in our clinic are dealing with stress and anxiety and depression.
Right.
And a lot of that is phone, and a lot of that is really poor sleeping habits and all the interruptions in their sleep.
Right.
And so a lot of people, they get up, they look at their phone. Well, the first thing I recommend people do when they first become aware that they're awake is do some deep breathing. Breathe, feel their heart center, enter through this doorway, the heart rather than the head. Most people I feel wake up, they're under siege. They're instantaneously just gripped, they're pulled into the doing. And then all the tasks that need to get done or all the rumination about yesterday or whatever. And so I recommend people get up breathing and stretching, just coming slowly into the day, and then going to the meditation space rather than going for a cup of coffee or the news or all the busyness. Go, allow for a transition. If you look at indigenous cultures, they would get up. They get up out of their hut. They get out of their teepee or whatever. What do? They breathe. They feel the air. They connect. They're listening, hearing the sounds of nature. This is natural. This is beautiful. So it's a meditative entrance into the day.
Much more receptivity.
Yeah.
Not turning on the TV to find out what the weather's going to be like, feeling the weather, feeling the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the whole idea of setting that energetic tone for the day, and so it's being proactive about your energy field, your vibration, and it's contributing to how the rest of your day is going to play out.
Absolutely.
So
yeah,
it's so important.
Yeah, so true. That in alignment with heart and intuition is so important. I think people a lot of times will get up, disregard this part of themselves, and busy, work harder, push, push. But it doesn't matter how hard a person pushes. If there's a disconnect here in their inner alignment, then the harder they push, the more out, more off it's going to be. And I have found that the connection with my heart center and my meditative mind creates the ground for me to, the resource, the touchstone from which I navigate my day. And that makes all the difference.
Right.
In how I respond and how I relate in the world with the world, with people, and the flow. So there's a sense of ease, there's a sense of grace, rather than effort and urgency and rushing and struggle and all that. There's a flow, there's an edgelessness to it. It feels really peaceful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we talk about white and wearing white and why that's important? Like, we're talking a lot about vibration and frequency in this conversation,
sure.
and I think that this is another quality, the color.
Yeah, well, I think people can wear whatever color they choose, for sure. Although I find white has a certain presence of radiance and being and light, and we come from light. We return to light, so that's why I wear white, because it's a reminder of myself as a being of light and lightness and radiance.
I remember, and I'm sure you do because you've been meditating a lot longer, but I remember when they started coming out with studies, like the Harvard studies on meditation and the benefits of meditation, and I think they started by studying monks. And nowadays it's very, very commonly known. Doctors are prescribing meditation for people. I used to get calls at the studio all the time. My doctor recommended yoga and meditation for my anxiety, for my whatever was ailing them.
Right.
And that was a wonderful tipping point when that started to happen and the medical community started getting behind this practice. So, people have been meditating way longer than the studies that have come out.
Right.
But they have quantified certain benefits of the practice. And we've touched on some of them already. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on some of the other benefits?
Sure. So as I mentioned, meditation is essential. It's essential for quieting the nervous system. Most people's nervous systems are way overactivated. The sympathetic, which is really about the stress and survival mechanisms within our physiology, that's way overly turned on. And the parasympathetic, which is really more about relaxation and healing, rejuvenation, restoration, is really suppressed. And so meditation really helps us to quiet the sympathetic, activate the parasympathetic so we can be much more relaxed. It's very important for the glandular system, for the adrenals, the pancreas. All these things are really directly impacted by meditation. When the sympathetic is overly activated, it's going to turn on the adrenals, the pancreas, the skeletal muscles, the heart rate, heart pressure. All these things are overly activated from a survival point of view. And meditation allows us to realize, okay, we're not in a forest, we're not in a jungle, we're not being attacked by tigers or whatever. We can just relax. And I think meditation in many ways gives us an understanding of the nature of our own internal dynamics. I think that Western psychology tends to focus on the content of the mind,
Yes.
the different aspects of mental activity, issues, etc. Whereas meditation allows us, from the meditative yoga view, we're understanding the nature of the mind. We're understanding the structures of the mind, structures of the relationship between mind and body, and so it's meditation is profound in relaxing these different internal physiological reactions so that we can remain relaxed and peaceful.
So much wisdom there, and it's so simple. It's not complicated.
I think that's an important thing for people to keep in mind, that it is simple, and that's part of the difficulty in this modern age. Because people have become so interwoven into the complexity of life, into the busy intricacy, that it seems that like that's normal. And that's something for everyone to look at, how have I adapted to the complexity of the busyness?
I remember when I had a concussion many years back, and the doctor said, you need rest, just rest. And I said, okay. And then I went back, and my symptoms were no better. And he said, well, what are you doing? And I said, I'm just resting. I'm just sitting watching TV. He said, you're not resting. You're not resting your brain. You're not resting. And I went, oh, I'm not. Because to me, that was resting. I was so used to being busy, running around, doing this, doing that, not having a moment, even teaching yoga, I was so busy.
Right.
And then I came home and, okay, I'm just going to watch TV for 5 minutes or an hour or whatever and rest.
Right.
But that's not giving your brain the right rest.
Right.
Or your body the right rest.
Yes.
So even our concept of that needs to change. We have been so driven for so long, we don't really understand even how to appropriately do self-care.
Yeah, that's right.
Would you like to guide a short meditation, or at least how to get into a little meditation for us? And maybe everybody can sample something of this, even if it's 5 minutes for the busy people.
We can do this. This is a meditation that's called calming the heart. You're going to bring the right hand in Gyan Mudra, where your index finger and thumb come together. And relax this by the side, your left heart chakra. And close the eyes. Let the eyes be relaxed. Inhaling slowly and deeply through the nose. And suspend the breath for a few moments. And we'll slowly exhale. Letting the breath be very slow. Holding the breath out for a few moments. Inhaling slowly, relax the navel. Allow yourself to receive the air. It's not like we have to take the air, we just open ourselves. And suspend the inhale, holding steady. And we'll slowly exhale. Suspending the breath out. Inhale slowly. Deep breath, full breath into the solar plexus and chest. Suspend, hold steady. Exhale slowly. Just let go as you exhale. Just feel your body releasing any holding, any attachments. Holding the breath out. Inhale slowly. Continue on your own for a couple minutes. Inhaling deeply, suspending the breath for a few seconds, 5 to 10 seconds. And exhaling all the way out. Holding the breath out for about 10 seconds. Okay, we'll inhale deeply. And exhale, relax. Just relax your hands down. Becoming aware of all the sensations simultaneously. Breathing in, feeling yourself breathing in. Breathing out, feeling yourself breathing out. Giving yourself to this current of life. Letting go of thought. Allowing yourself to listen, aware of the sounds around you. Aware of your breath. Aware of letting be, letting go, any holding in the mind or the body. Aware of space, extending your awareness into the space around you. And we'll inhale and exhale, relax.
Thank you so much for that meditation. I realized since my injury how little deep breathing I've been doing.
Okay.
That was a struggle. The retentions, which I love, they're my favorite part. But because I've been so wrapped up with this injury, I really haven't been doing a lot of that myself. So that was a wake-up call. But it doesn't take very long to shift and to really get into a different space. So that was enough.
Yeah, it's creating a time and creating a sense of self-love and a commitment to peace.
And if we can start to teach this to our children, we might have a whole different world.
Yes.
So that's the bigger context too.
Right.
How we can heal our own being and then move that into the world and heal the world through love and self-love.
Right on.
So thank you so much for
Thanks,
your
Tracey.
time. I know you're very busy, but
Thank you.
in a good way busy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.